Hey, you know everything. Whatever happened to music in elevators? Huh? When did they stop doing that?
Oh, would you like some?
Sure.
We first heard that Vince Gilligan was working on a new series outside the Breaking Bad universe way back in 2022. Apple gave it a 2-season order, and Better Call Saul's Rhea Seehorn was cast in the lead role. And that was about all we knew about the show until Apple started marketing it a couple of months before the premiere. The whole thing was shrouded in mystery. It didn't even have a title until very recently. It was just Untitled Vince Gilligan Project. For years, all we knew was that Gilligan and Seehorn were working on an ambitious sci-fi series together, and that on its own was enough to make it one of the most exciting shows of the year. But I don't think anyone could have predicted what this thing turned out to be. If you had a million guesses on what the Breaking Bad creator and X-Files writer's new sci-fi show would be, you would have never come up with Pluribus. It's extremely rare that you see something this original, a premise you've never seen before, a bold execution that doesn't rely on any familiar tropes, and the audacity to make the most unexpected choice at every turn. Gilligan and his incredibly talented cast and crew have crafted a series so different from anything we've ever seen before that a lot of people didn't know what to make of it. When the first trailer dropped, it introduced a mysterious epidemic of happiness that suddenly gave everyone on Earth a very contented demeanor, except one miserable woman who seemed to be immune to it all. It was an interesting hook, but that was just the tip of the iceberg of what this series would do. Even after the first episode premiered, we still didn't have the full scope of what Gilligan and his writers were doing with this show. Every week, Pluribus pulled back the curtain a little bit further, and the story it ended up telling was much deeper and richer than anyone was expecting, even for the creator of Breaking Bad. It started off feeling like a bizarre metaphor for the inevitable AI uprising, but it evolved into something much more unique and universal. Now that Pluribus' first season is over, I can safely say it's the best new show of 2025, and one of the best new shows of the decade. It has the sheer originality of Severance, the cinematic scale of Shogun and The Last of Us, the morbid humor of The Curse and The Chair Company, and the same authentic portrayal of flawed women seen in Yellow Jackets. But at the same time, it's nothing like any of those shows. It's its own beast entirely. It's a chance for Rhea Seehorn to finally win the Emmy that somehow eluded her for 6 years on Better Call Saul. She's incredible as Carol Sturcker. She's burdened with carrying the entire series. She's the only one in the main cast, everyone else comes and goes. And it works because she's endlessly watchable. She's endearing and funny, and she brings so much depth and nuance to every little moment, even when she's doing next to nothing. The first season is a slow burn like Breaking Bad, but it's fiercely effective. It gives us plenty of time to get accustomed to this disturbing new normal, and more importantly, it gives us plenty of time to get to know Carol. The first episode of Pluribus is one of the greatest series premieres in recent memory. It keeps you at arm's length, refusing to explain any of the strange things that are happening, at least until the very end, but it grabs your attention right away. That pilot feels like a classic Twilight Zone episode. Carol is the same as she's always been, but suddenly everyone else is different, and she has no idea why. It's a chilling mystery that keeps getting bigger and bigger in scope. The whole thing feels like a bad dream in the best way.
Hi, Carol. Thank you for calling.
Yep.
This must be so bewildering for you, so terrible.
But after that thrilling pilot, the second episode starts to explain the premise and build out the world and establish a status quo. It subverts the mystery box formula by emptying out the mystery box up front. J.J. Abrams would have waited 2 whole seasons before telling us why everyone was being nice to Carol.
Keyboard solo, J.J. Abrams!
But Gilligan gets right to it in just the second episode.
What the hell is this, Gilligan?
It's Ira, sir. Please call me Al.
Gilligan!
It sets up how this chilling Twilight Zone mystery will work as an ongoing series, and shows us who the recurring cast will be. A body-snatching alien hive mind has taken over the human race, and since it was a rush job, they killed a bunch of people in the process, including Carol's wife Helen, and failed to assimilate a small handful of people who are seemingly immune to their psychic influence. The pod people send a woman named Zosia to be Carol's liaison, and Carol hopes to galvanize the other immune people to reverse the joining and bring the rest of the human race back. But most of them are surprisingly content with how things have turned out. One of them likes that everyone's a lot nicer now, one of them's using the others to live out his wildest fantasies, and one of them locks himself away and refuses to even speak to the others, at least at first.
You are traitors. You are traitors to the human race!
It's jam-packed with dramatic potential. Carol is grieving the loss of Helen, falling in love with Zosia against her better judgment, and creating friction with the other immune people, all of whom have their own very different reaction to these unusual circumstances. Pluribus is science fiction at its very best. It's not just speculative spectacle for the sake of it, it's exactly the opposite. Gilligan is using a made-up science fiction story to examine issues that affect our daily lives, and look more broadly at the chaotic, emotional rollercoaster of being human. He holds a mirror up to the flaws in our broken society and our self-destructive species by showing us the benevolent peace and love utopia it could be. A lesser execution of this premise would have the alien leader as the big bad and assemble a team to build a weapon capable of destroying the alien mothership or some bullshit like that, and it would just throw all this plot at the wall and you'd lose everything that makes this concept unique and interesting just to rehash the same meaningless drivel you've seen 100 times before. But Vince Gilligan flies in the face of those tired tropes. He keeps it rooted in emotion, rooted in humanity, rooted in human behavior and the human condition and the human psyche. After spending a decade and a half exploring the dark side of humanity through the complicated lives of two deeply flawed anti-heroes, Gilligan has set his sights a little higher with Pluribus and explored humanity on a global scale.
Gilligan!
It's an existential masterpiece. Gilligan uses this oddball what-if scenario to explore some heavy philosophical themes, primarily free will. The series asks, is utopia worth it if we have no agency? The others treat the planet and each other better than the humans ever did. But surely it's better to live in an imperfect world where we get to make our own mistakes than a perfect world where we're slaves to an extraterrestrial brainwave. It touches on the death of privacy when the others tell Carol all of Helen's innermost thoughts, even the things she was too afraid to tell her herself.
What did Helen think of my White Caro books?
She thought they were harmless.
Harmless?
Cotton candy was the phrase she used in her mind, mostly.
Cotton candy.
It tackles the complexities of consent with the hedonist who essentially uses the others as sex slaves and puppets to act out his fantasies. The others have to give him whatever he asks for, so it's a grey area as to whether they actually consent. And the people whose bodies they're inhabiting definitely can't consent. Carol is disgusted by this, but she also can't deny that she's attracted to Zosia. In fact, she suspects that's why she was chosen out of billions of people to be the pod people's representative for Carol. The pod people's relentless kindness and non-stop affection highlight the problems with toxic positivity. It would be nice to be nice all the time, but intelligent life is much too complicated to just play that one note over and over again. There's a reason we have a wide emotional spectrum that encompasses sadness and fear and anger. Different situations call for different demeanors. Whenever Carol gets frustrated and lashes out, the others are so devastated by it that millions of them die off in one fell swoop. This curious little piece of Pluribus mythology functions beautifully as a grand metaphor for positive energy versus negative energy, and the pros and cons of both. The show deals with all these different themes, but the message at the core of this story is that we need human contact. When Carol has one inadvertently genocidal outburst too many, the entire city of Albuquerque just up and leaves to get some space from her. So she's forced to live alone for a few weeks with no one else around for miles. And it's not long before that isolation gets to her. Every time she calls the others to request something, she has to listen to the same tedious, condescending answer phone message.
Hello, Carol. This is a recording. At the tone, you can leave a message to request anything you might need. We'll do our best to provide it. Our feelings for you haven't changed, Carol. But after everything that's happened, we just need a little space.
They have to do whatever she asks, so she could have told them to shorten that message or cut it altogether because she knows the drill. But she sits there and listens to that voicemail message over and over again. As much as it irritates her, she relishes it because she's so starved for human contact that anything will do. Gilligan has been very open about all the cinematic influences he pulled from in his creation of Pluribus, and the show wears those influences on its sleeve. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Defending Your Life, The Truman Show, The Omega Man. But for me, Groundhog Day feels like the closest comparison.
Nuts.
Both Carol and Phil Connors are forced to deal with their issues when the world stands still. The rat race grinds to a halt, all their usual distractions are gone, and they're completely alone with their thoughts. The most poignant parallel between these two stories is the descent into depression. The darkest chapter of Groundhog Day is when Phil just gives up and starts doing crazy things like stealing the groundhog and driving off a cliff, because there are no consequences to his actions and he doesn't care anymore. When those cheap thrills and empty adrenaline rushes get old, he starts killing himself over and over. Carol goes down a similar path when she gives up. She enjoys a few days alone doing whatever the hell she wants, dining out at fancy restaurants, smacking golf balls into windows, having spa facilities all to herself, but she quickly grows bored of that and succumbs to a deep depression. I think the message of the series is summed up perfectly when Carol gets a hold of some paint and leaves 2 words for the others to see: come back. She'd rather be surrounded by creepy pod people than left alone. Being around other people is as essential to our survival as breathing oxygen and drinking water. Even if those people are possessed by an alien hive mind, we still crave that human contact.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.
What the hell is this, Gilligan?
It's Ira, sir. Please call me Isle.
Gilligan!